What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast studio. It's your host, Holden, and
Noah.
Man, glad to be back here with you, Noah. It's another week of the show, Growing Upstairs. I almost called it the Growing Upstairs there for just a second. Noah, how have things been going? It's been a week,
man,
since we did this, and every week I think that I say this, I'm going to say, hey, it's been a week since we did this last episode.
That's right. It's been another week.
But let me hear about your week real quick before we jump into the show real deep.
I have to say, man, it has been a pretty good week. If you listened to the show last week, I know we talked about my truck tail lights.
Yes. Feed us back on that.
We figured that issue out.
Good.
Apparently, the brake of my truck had been pushed too hard, and so it had gotten loose, and the brake was actually registering as being pushed down. So that's why my tail lights, my brake lights, were just constantly on. And so I was able to get a hammer and tap it back a little bit, give it a little tappy.
No, I knew it the whole time. I just wanted you to figure it out.
Well, you know, I'm glad that the Lord gave me the wisdom to figure out something that you could have told me this entire time.
There you go. Hey, sometimes that's what it's all about. Hey, we're here to make sure that we grow with God together. That's the purpose of this show. We're going to talk about Jesus' life and music. Tonight, we're going to talk about music. Tonight is going to be a really fun episode. We're not diving into any deep subjects or anything. It is going to be a get to know you or get to know the show kind of an episode. So you're going to get to learn some of our favorite stuff. We're still going to do the fun youth stories. I think we may have one or two that we can rattle up this week. Where can they follow us if they want to follow us now?
And they can still follow us on Instagram at GrowingUpstairs, where we're going to continue to post some reels and different clips and videos from the show. And also continue to get you guys to comment and give us some info on some polls and stuff here and there.
Perfect. So you guys make sure you follow us over there on Instagram at GrowingUpstairs, right?
That's right.
Just want to make sure that I have that right. Give that plug there. You may not have seen too much up there this week, and that's because Noah has been busy. Noah's been studying. He gave us the lesson tonight in the upstairs in the youth room. Awesome lesson, by the way.
Thank you.
Just want to say this. We were talking about cultural Christianity, which is a deep topic. I think it spoke to a lot of people as we were going through it. I did not know as much about cultural Christianity as I thought. So you didn't just teach the youth. You taught me a thing or two too. So it was awesome. Give Noah a mulligan as far as not posting a bunch on the socials, guys. He's been busy getting along with the Lord, figuring out what it is that God's bringing to him and wants him to share.
That's right. And give all glory to God. I just pray that, his word just spoke tonight and that he, my prayer through all of that is just that he would use me as a vessel. And I just pray that, that message might speak to someone. I know it speaks to me and in my life, and like you said, even speaks to you as well. So amen to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And like you said, that's where we want to keep things. We want to make sure that we're putting God first in everything that we do, and all glory be to him. So the first little topic that we're going to talk about coming into it, because we talked a little bit about life. As far as for me, it's the same old. I got a 5-year-old. They've started school back. I've gone from my original routine of summertime where I get to get up, 30 minutes before work, throw some clothes on, brush my teeth, and go, right? To now I'm getting up at 5:30, and the only good thing about it is started, and I've created a routine which has been extremely difficult. You and I talk about this, but waking up at 5:30 is hard alone. But it's making sure my son's ready to go to school. He's got his lunch and everything ready. That most of the time his mom will get ready. My wife Taylor, and they leave about 6:15. Sometimes a little bit before that. But then after that, it gives me the routine of, okay, it's time for me to get along with God. And it is so easy for me to sit back and go, dude, all I want to do this morning is get in. I want to get back into bed.
Yeah.
I've got an hour. I can literally go lay back down, fall back asleep, whatever it is. And there are days that in the past I've done that, and I've been like, man, I really don't feel more rested.
Oh, yeah.
So getting alone time in the Word first thing in the morning is also I used to do it at night. I think when we first started this just a few weeks ago, it's hard to believe we've been doing this a month. I mean,
really?
This is week 4,
wow.
Which is, I guess, technically right at a month,
yeah.
Which is nuts to think about. But episode 4, live in the podcast studio. But it's given me kind of, a routine of, hey, let me get along with the Lord. And instead of doing it at night and sleeping on it, that's the first thing I do in the morning, which to me, man, it starts your day off. I see why you do it in the mornings. It starts your day off a whole lot better when the first thing you do is get along with God.
And like you said, that doesn't mean it's easy, because
absolutely not.
It's very easy to hit that snooze button 2 or 3 times, which is my problem some mornings. And I've found that here recently I continue to hit the snooze button some, and I still get up and I get some time in the Word, but it's a shorter amount of time.
Yeah.
And I'm really would love to a lot of mornings hit that snooze button less and get a good 30, 45 minutes in the Word. And so, it's continuously working on being spiritually disciplined to fight that hard battle of getting up out of the bed and spending that time in the Word. But like you said, man, it kicks your day off in a whole new way, because you're spending time with the Lord, and you're getting that time with Him as the beginning, as the kickoff to your day.
Yeah.
So
I want to say that this is the deepest that I'm going to go as far as like getting into some deep stuff real quick, but it's on my heart right now, and it's kind of on my mind. Coming off of the lesson about cultural Christianity, there may be people that are listening to this, or people that know me in general, and they may think, I am not a perfect human being. There have been times in my past, in my life, where I have not done things correctly. I have lived that Sunday morning faith where that is the only day I did anything that revolved around Jesus. It was, I live my life how I want to live my life Monday through Saturday, and when Sunday comes, okay, it's a turn of a switch. I've got to put on this face of, hey, I am at church. I have to speak right. I have to listen. I have to do these things, right? And you talking about everything about the cultural Christianity has made me realize I used to do exactly that. I used to be a cultural Christian that would do that, live every day however I wanted to, even on the weekends. I would go and, essentially just party, have fun, do whatever I wanted. Didn't care about I was not putting Christ first.
Yeah.
And
I've been in that same boat.
It has been such a big deal, and I'm not boasting on myself. This is all God.
Right.
That I have really, really can't thank Him enough for working in my life and doing this show, being a part of the youth, so many other things over the past really 6 months that have just started to kind of put themselves in place have helped me to get things back in. I'm still not perfect. But nobody is.
Right.
Nobody's going to walk this earth that is perfect. So I wanted to say I'm glad that God placed that on your heart, because it spoke to me again, like we talked about there. But for anybody listening to this, you don't have to be perfect. It is not going to be easy, like Noah just said. But as I continue to read the Word every day, and like we talked about last week, pray, man, just pray. Even when it's bad, even when stuff in your life is not going easy, even when you're bored and you have nothing to do, just pray. Talk to God, get along with God. Take that time that you would, do nothing or watch trash or listen to trash and get along with God.
TikTok.
Use that time for that and watch what happens in your life and see, because I'm an example of it, see what God will start to do in your life and how He will start to move. Again, my life's not perfect, and it's still not easy, but it has made such a big difference in my life. So I just want to get that off my chest here at the start of this thing.
Absolutely, man.
And we're going to get into some fun stuff now. Like I said, that's as deep as I'm going to go on it this week. Now let's get to know each other in this. All right, football season's coming.
All right, I'm ready.
You ready? Let's go ahead and rep our teams right here. Who you pulling for?
So let's just say the team that is going to win the ACC this year.
Yeah.
The Florida State Seminoles.
The Florida State. How you do? Oh, I'll say that's the Braves chant instead of FSU. Just for my sake.
Right. Even though I'm a Braves fan, a very big Braves fan, I will say it did come from Florida State.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that. I'm a dog, so I'm allowed to bark back at it a little bit right now.
Well, let me just say this too. I'll be cheering for Florida State, but I also will be cheering for my alma mater, those Georgia Southern Eagles in Statesboro.
Yeah.
Maybe we can get back on track this year.
Maybe so. Some things can happen. Hey, I feel like FSU's going to have a big year. I'm not trying to get you too excited, but I really think it's a big year. Really quickly, I'm going to touch on this because this is not a football podcast. I do another football podcast outside of this. I'm not repping that. We're just talking to each other right here. So with everything that's going on with the ACC right now, how they're possibly about to split, and all of a sudden FSU and Clemson are about to be a part of something different, and all of a sudden you're going to have the two teams coming from the Atlantic or the Pacific coast joining the Atlantic coast. It's like, wait a minute, we're going to have to change the name of this to like the National Coast because there's so much going on in football right now, which is nuts. But anyways, I'm excited for football season coming up. I have to remember during that time, what are we putting first?
That's right.
You still rep your team. You still love your team. It doesn't mean that you're not allowed to enjoy football and love your team and everything. Just make sure you know what you're putting first.
Well, that's right. Absolutely. And let me ask you this too, just for the sake of, do you like the NFL?
It's an odd thing. Like I used to be okay with it. I would say even today, the Falcons are my team. They're the team that I would root for, even after blowing it against the Patriots years ago, and they haven't really been relevant since. But I am not an NFL fan. I will watch and look and see what some of the guys who used to play for Georgia are doing.
I got you.
Like Stetson Bennett, saw what he did in preseason, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But other than that, I do not care to watch at all, which is kind of it's a crazy thing to me because, these kids when they're in college, it's such a big deal to them to go and play in the NFL, but then they get there and it's like, it's hard for one person to have one team because you're rooting for the guys who came off of your college team. And to me, college football is so much bigger.
Oh, it is. It definitely is better. But I will say I'm a little different. I enjoy the NFL. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it almost just as much as I do college.
So you're fired up right now, preseason.
Yeah, man, I'm ready. I mean, the Vikings lost the other day.
Is that where you are?
Yeah. Okay. So just
how in the world do you end up being a Minnesota Vikings fan?
Let me explain. So, like you said, when players leave college, you tend to follow them.
I know who it is.
And so, man, the Falcons, terrible the past couple of years. And my favorite running back of all time, favorite Florida State Seminole of all time, actually, yes, Dalvin Cook. Some might say Jameis Winston, but I would say Dalvin Cook. He gets drafted, boom, by the Minnesota Vikings, right? So I automatically start following him, watching him play. He's lighting it up in the league. Well, he actually just got traded not traded, but he got let go. And he was just picked up by the New York Jets. But during his time with the Vikings, I grew to like the team and what them as an organization, as their culture, around Minnesota. Yeah. And I just follow the Vikings now, and I would say that they are my team.
Okay. So, that being from South Georgia, when you say, "Yeah, my favorite team is the Minnesota Vikings," it's kind of
strange looks.
Yeah. All right, so this is kind of getting into some of the favorites. What is your favorite color? Because of them, is purple one of your favorite colors?
No.
Okay.
It's actually hunter green.
Hunter green, very specific with the hunter green, because to me, I guess it is different than just a green.
Yeah, like this green that's the cord to my mic that we use here in the podcast studio.
I didn't even think about that when I asked you. I was like, all right, which color you want, orange or green? Because those are the two that I have here. And I was like, yeah, I'll take green.
You ever notice my backpack? The Under Armour backpack?
Never paid attention.
It's the same color.
How about that?
Yeah.
Hunter green. Mine's blue. It just blue. I mean, really the color of those lenses on the glass right there. What do you call it other than just blue?
Right.
As plain as it can get, and a lot of people keep it plain like that. Hey, but we're getting to know the show here. I told DJ, which is one of our youth, probably soon to be youth leaders, helping us out here. I told him I wasn't going to say this joke on here, but I'm going to say it anyways, just because it kind of cracked me up.
You got to say it.
So, what did the pig sitting out in the hot sun say?
Dude, I got nothing.
I'm bacon. It's such a terrible dad. As a matter of fact, I heard it on another show, but I was like, dude, I don't know why.
It's a knee slapper.
Maybe it's because I was like bored and sitting there just heard it out of the blue on another show, And I don't know, maybe I was too hot. Maybe I was dehydrated and delirious.
Maybe you were baking.
Dude, I was cracking up when they said.
But dude, you have a 5-year-old. I mean, you have the excuse to make those dad jokes.
I have created in my notes, and we're going to do another one at the end of the show. I'm making it a point to put in a Christian dad joke every single week, so that way whoever's listening to this, if you're ever asked, hey, just tell me a joke, which really, who walks around and just says, say a joke? Nobody, right? Nobody's really walking around and be like, hey, man, tell me a joke.
I feel like that's something you would do.
Me, but I'm different. Anyways, I'm different like that. But anyways, I have a whole notes with those, so we're gonna do some of those. Anyways, all right, let's get into some music topic right here. What is a throwback worship song to you that still hits today? And I'll give you mine first, so you can kind of think about it for a minute. A throwback song. This means we can't just go to a song from last year. You got to throw it back a little bit, Casting Crowns, some Chris Tomlin, something like that. For me, it is I Can Only Imagine. And I would normally pull it up and play it in the background here, but I forgot to ask Noah this question beforehand, so I don't want to play my music and not his. So I'm just going to say mine is I Can Only Imagine because it still hits today.
It's such
a good song.
Man, Mr. Danny.
But nailed it Sunday.
He crushed it.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
So if you had to, same thing, throwback Christian song or throwback worship song that still hits today.
I would have to say mine is probably All My Fountains by Chris Tomlin.
Okay, all right.
You know that one?
Oh, yeah.
It's a good one.
All my fountains. All right, I ain't going to sing
and
that here.
The guitar kicks in, and that was a good one.
That is a good one. Man, I hadn't thought about that one in a while. I hadn't heard that one in a long time either. So, all right, well, let's get to one of the other funny topics of the day. Noah, let's get to story time, where we talk to you guys about funny, embarrassing, awesome, or amazing stories from youth time, whether as a leader, as a minister, or just being in the youth. What you got for me tonight?
So, man, I figured with this whole idea of get to know the show, get to know, us as the podcast hosts, that I would tell a little funny story about me.
All right.
In youth group. And so this story begins when me and Chad and some of our other youth were heading out to the Extreme Winter Conference in Tennessee. And this conference is always, end of the year. So I think one time it was actually on New Year's Eve. And so we rang in the new year at Extreme Winter. And I think it was this year that this happened. And, we're on the way up there. We're having a good time. And at the time, Chad, our youth leader, who we call Gramps, he had a Chevy Tahoe. It's different than the car that he has now. And he was hauling a big trailer behind the Tahoe with all of our stuff in it for the youth. For the week, we were staying at a cabin way at the top of this mountain, right, in Tennessee. Just so happens that with it being in the very end of December and going into January, it's very cold, very cold climate. Just to set the picture for you, it's cold. There was a little bit of sleet. It wasn't really snow. I think it did snow some, but it was just very icy. It was like that type of weather in the mountains where you don't really want to be driving real fast around curves and stuff, because black ice and that type of stuff. Anyway. We were on the way up the mountain, and it was not snowing or anything at the time, but of course these mountain roads they're not the greatest.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the passenger seat helping Chad navigate.
You are the co-pilot.
And if you know me, you know that I am a fantastic navigator. That's a joke. So, basically, we'd never been to this area before, and we're going up the mountain. And I'm like, next right. The GPS is like, we got to take the next right. So I'm like, we got to take the next right. We're getting real close. So he takes that right, and we're going up the mountain, and we start curving up to the left, and he goes up this curve, right? And as soon as he takes this curve, he goes, Noah, this is a dead end. And I'm like, no, it's not. No, we just got to keep going. We're good. He's like, it's a dead end.
The GPS said, turn right.
That's right.
15 feet.
So he's going up this mountain, and we can see the next road up. We can look up and see our cabin, but it's on the next road up. And we're looking straight at a dead end.
Oh, boy.
And so to paint the picture for you, we took this left curve, right? And we're facing the dead end, and the trailer is like jackknifed around this curve. And so there's no way to back up and go straight without the trailer falling off the mountain.
Oh my goodness. This is terrifying.
Dude, it was crazy. And so we get out and we have to literally like take the trailer off of the Tahoe
on a hill
and like rotate it on a hill and back the car up and rehook it and then move.
Dude, this sounds like a story that was going to end with, oh yeah, by the way, the trailer went all the way down the mountain and nobody had anything to wear at youth camp this week.
Praise the Lord, we did not lose the trailer. He was with us in those moments.
I'm telling you.
But dude, you could literally hear the tires on the trailer like like scraping on the road. It was crazy. It was crazy. Needless to say, I did not navigate the rest of that trip.
Yeah. You were no longer, instead of it being a Garmin, it was a Noah. And Noah's like, you got to turn right here. Instead, the Garmin would have said, in 1,500 feet, not 15 feet. We're going to. I do that so much, though, dude. Driving, I look at the GPS. It's like, all right, I got to turn right here. Right. And you go to turn. It's like, no. You still got 500 feet to go.
Do you think, do kids even know what a Garmin is?
Oh, I didn't even think about this. Okay, GPS on your phone.
Apple Maps.
Yes, okay, Apple Maps, Google Maps, depending on what you use. So a Garmin, basically, if you're in a car that has navigation, because almost all of them do now, it was that, but it was a separate unit that you would put up in your window that would help you drive.
When you get home tonight, kids, ask your parents or even your grandparents if they still own a Garmin.
Yeah.
And see how they respond.
I was going to say, there are going to be a few, and it's like, oh, yeah, I know what that is. It's up in the attic. I hadn't used that thing in 46 years. You know, it won't really be like that. So, but I've got one that's kind of similar. Mm-hmm. It's really not funny. I kind of started thinking about it, and I was like, I'll tell this one. And I was like, yeah, it's not as funny as I thought it would be. But it was the same thing. We went to the mountains to Pigeon Forge for a winter conference. Same thing. We're from Southeast Alabama, so we've never in our lives seen snow. I was probably 12 or 13 at the time, maybe a little bit older, but regardless, never seen snow. We're up there, and all of a sudden they're like, "Hey, there's potential of snow," and we're like, "Okay." So we're leaving this conference. It hasn't snowed the whole time. It has been freezing cold the whole time we're there. There's like a little creek running back behind the hotel that we're staying at that's frozen, which was cool. So we're on the way home, and all of a sudden it starts snowing. So we get the bright idea, okay, let's pull over at this random gas station that's snowing. We got to take a picture. And we look over, and one of the guys in the youth has built a 2-inch snowman on top of some random car that we don't know who they were driving it. But we look over, and somehow he has made this tiny little 2-inch snowman on top of this car because it's been snowing a whopping 14 seconds basically by the time we got there, just enough to be a dusting. But if you've never been around snow, we were fired up about it. We're taking pictures like we've been in St. Louis and it's been snowing for 3 days, right? But
when you're from the South, snow is snow.
Snow's a big deal. Snow will shut things down in the South. If you're from here, you already know that. So any other funny stories for story time that we go through this week?
That's all I got.
We'll make sure we reach out to you guys next week. And if anybody else has any more stories, we'll get to it. Let's do this real quick.
We fixing to raise the meter.
So we raised the meter a little bit today. Today is not going to be like a lesson or anything like that. We're just going to get to know each other. That is the topic of this week, is going to be getting to know the show. So I'm going to ask you, Noah, just some of your favorite things. I'll tell you some of my favorite things, and we're just going to have some fun, get to know each other in here so that way the listeners can do the same thing. So starting off with the first thing, what is some of your favorite TV series? I had to put like 4 or 5 in here because I couldn't really pick one because we talked about like eras earlier. I was like, well, there's different eras of my life. So I'm going to give a couple for you and give you a minute to kind of think about it. Favorite TV series. So one of the favorite ones that I have is The Office. So I grew up in that era where everybody's like, oh, we're watching The Office. That's the biggest show. I don't know what the other one was. The Parks and Rec is probably what the other is. So that was one of my favorites. I love Friends. You know, it's actually a little bit before my time, but I still enjoyed it. Me and my wife, we would kind of sit down and watch it. And I used to watch Suits before it is what it is today. It's all of a sudden making
really popular right now.
It's making a comeback, and I was like, dude, this show's old. I don't know, it may still be out. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I kind of got into it because it's just about this guy who knows, like, he has like a photographic memory. It's crazy. I'm not telling you guys to go and watch these, by the way, because some of these shows, really thinking back on it now, I'm like, I probably shouldn't have watched this. And one of the ones that I'm kind of hooked on now is Stranger Things. And it's another one, again, I don't know if it's one that you should go and watch, but it's kind of, you know, we talked about cultural Christianity where it's like everybody's watching everything that everybody's watching.
Mm-hmm.
Stranger Things was one of those. And when I kind of think about it, I'm like, yeah, this might not be a show you should watch because it's pretty dark and scary, and it could have, anyways. But it was one of the shows that I was like, man, this is interesting. It's got a lot of nostalgia for the throwback. So, question for you, same thing. Favorite TV series?
Yeah, I would say two of yours are actually on my list. I would say Stranger Things and Friends. Yeah. Also, I enjoyed Friends.
I hit him with that.
Oh, my goodness. Have you ever noticed when they do that at the Braves games?
No, I hadn't.
The organist plays
I hadn't noticed that. I hadn't been to a Braves game since last year.
I would say another one, like you said, some of these shows are shows you watched and enjoyed, and then kind of looking back on it, you realize it's like,
maybe not.
You know, there's some part. But another one, I don't know if you've ever seen it, is How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, I have. I never finished it.
Oh, man.
So I never got to where they met the mother, if they ever did. Don't tell me. Because eventually, one day in my life, a few eras down the road, I'm going to revisit it. Dude, but I never finished it. But it was a funny one, too.
There are some people that love the ending, and there's people that absolutely hate it.
And that's why I'm like, but people will start talking about it. I'm like, I want to hear it. Knowing that it may take me 20 years to go back to it.
Like, it started, like, there was like a big, you know, really? cultural war. People that hated it, loved it. Yeah, So that's what you got on your favorite shows? Hey, that's pretty good. I didn't even think about How I Met Your Mother, but again, I could probably put like 15 on here. Yeah,
because there's so many.
Andy Griffith, man,
dude, I loved Grey's Anatomy, and it was one of those like you will learn this, and you probably already have. When your girlfriend's sitting there watching something, and you're like, I don't want to watch this. For me, it was my wife. I was like, I don't want to watch this, but you're sitting there. All of a sudden, you got popcorn in your hand. And you're 3 seasons, 46 episodes in, and you're like, I guess I'm invested in this. And that was me for Grey's Anatomy. It was pretty good. All right, moving on. We're going to kind of speed things up here real quick. Favorite football movie? Again, I'll go first on this one. A couple of them here, because again, this is hard. We Are Marshall and Remember the Titans is two of my favorites. They are probably like 1 and 2. It was hard for me to choose the difference in them because they both have two different stories, one of which, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, so you guys can go and watch. But We Are Marshall, Remember the Titans, and I have to give a shout out to the Sherwood locals around here facing the Giants. Still such a good movie.
Still a good one today.
Stonewall.
They're like little dogs nipping at your heels.
That's right. So what you got on that favorite football movie as we're getting into football?
And I would say Facing the Giants is up there too.
Come on.
It's a good one. Also, I don't know if you've ever seen it. I don't know how popular it is, but it's called The Fifth Quarter. Have you ever seen that?
I don't think I have seen that.
It's really good.
What is the one from Disney? It's about Clemson. It came out like
Safety.
Yes, that was actually
a good one too. Yeah. But
I couldn't remember what it was called.
Fifth Quarter follows a guy that played at Wake Forest.
Okay.
And his brother dies in a car accident like 10 minutes into the movie.
Oh my goodness.
You had check it out. It's really, really good.
Okay.
I would recommend it.
Fifth Quarter. Is that what you said, fifth quarter?
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of which, we got fifth quarter coming up in a couple of weeks.
That's right.
Guys that are our youth that are listening, make sure that you come to fifth quarter and invite your friends to it. Anyways, moving on. Favorite foods, something that we're about to go get, in mine at least, is I cooked spaghetti the other night for my family, but it's Mexican. Mexican is one of my favorite. It has become one of my favorites to go and do. That's why when we come to town, I'm like, man, I want to go to Mama Rita's or wherever we're going to eat Mexican food. And sometimes people are like, I don't want to go there. We go there all the time. I just went there yesterday. I'm like, I only come to town a couple of times. I want a Mexican. And that's where we're going when we leave this. So
that's right.
What you got?
I would say my favorite food's steak.
Oh, well, that's just not fair. Man, steak is like top of the line, but I was like, I didn't even think about steak. So good. All right, baked potato with it?
Sweet potato.
Ooh, okay.
Sweet
I'm
potato,
a baked
cinnamon,
potato
and
guy.
sugar.
That's pretty good, though.
Yeah.
I'm a baked potato guy with the steak. That's pretty good, though. Favorite foods. All right, favorite candies. Mine, Skittles. Taste the rainbow, dude. It's so good.
Dude, Skittles are up there for me, too. I would say Skittles.
Reese's peanut butter cups.
Smarties. I don't know why. I've always been a big Smarties fan. And when I go to the movies, I got to have a box of Milk Duds.
Milk Duds are good, too.
Yeah.
Until they stick to your teeth and you can't get it unstuck. One of my favorite things to do when watching a movie, it's going to sound silly. My wife hates that I do this, but I pop some popcorn. I've got a bag of Skittles and sweet tea. And I don't know why I do this, but I throw some Skittles in my mouth, I drink some tea, and I just swash the old Skittles around for a minute. And she's like, why are you doing that? That sound is so annoying of the Skittles clicking your teeth. And I'm like, it's so good. And then I swallow, and then I'll eat some popcorn. And I don't know why, dude. It is my favorite thing to do when sitting there watching a movie, and it drives her bonkers. That's not the reason I do it.
Right.
90% of the reason that anyways, but that's one of my favorite things to do, which leads me to my next. What is your favorite drink? Mine is sweet tea. I mean, I can drink sweet tea all day, every day.
Dude, you know this, but I am a coffee fanatic.
Oh, yes.
Coffee is by far my favorite thing to drink. Morning, afternoon. I actually had a cup this afternoon while I was getting ready for the lesson. So, man, with some hazelnut creamer.
I will drink some coffee when I'm editing this video tonight.
Hey.
I do it every time. When I'm
decaf?
doing a show or something. No. We straight up throwing a coffee pod and a Keurig and rolling with it.
You don't stay up all night?
No, dude. When I go to sleep, I generally go to sleep. It don't matter. I'm lucky in that aspect at least. But coffee is a really good one. I thought of coffee, but I was like, sweet tea is the top of the line.
And Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, I've kind of pushed off of sodas. It's coffee in the mornings, water all day because it's so hot, and then sweet tea. Occasionally Gatorade, one of them Body Armors. They're pretty good. All right, moving on really quickly as we kind of wrap up here. Favorite number? Mine is number 10. That was the number I was in baseball in high school growing up and all that. It's a random one, but favorite number?
Mine's 7.
Number 7. Same thing. That was your number in sports and all growing up?
Yep.
So, yeah, easy peasy. All right, favorite hobbies. Mine has really become this one. It used to be playing baseball and all that growing up, but obviously that stopped. We had a church league softball, which we're going to talk about that on another episode. We had church league softball, which was one of my favorite hobbies. They got canceled this year, and I'm going to save this. Remind me, Noah. I'm going to save this and tell you guys this is going to be like a cliffhanger. Make sure you guys come back next week to hear why we didn't play church league softball this week. But that used to be one of my favorite hobbies, but now it truly has become doing this show. And then I do a Georgia football podcast on the side as well. And that's like my favorite hobbies. I don't know why. I've gotten really deep into, I enjoy the video side, but the audio side of doing things and learning these kind of things, tech,
Absolutely.
is really fun to me. So what are your favorite hobbies?
I would say watching the Braves, keeping up with MLB, that type of thing. I very much enjoy doing that. Also, I enjoy hanging out with my dog, going golfing, man. Just being outside is so much fun. So pretty much anything outside.
That's pretty good. All right, let me hit you with a quick dad joke here as we kind of get ready to wrap up. We talked about last week why he can't wear jewelry. But what kind of car would Jesus drive if he was around? Did I do this one like the first week?
I don't think so.
Even
I know we've talked about this before.
Even if I did, we're going to do it again. So what kind of car would Jesus drive if he was driving it right now?
I would say probably a Honda Accord.
That's a good one. It's pretty close. It's a Chrysler. A Chrysler. Hey, you got anything as we kind of close things up here, Noah?
Man, it's been another good week. Looking forward to getting back on the podcast next week and talking to you guys again. But as we close out, let's just remember to grow together and continue to grow upstairs.
That's right. I'm fired up about it. Instagram.
At GrowingUpstairs.
At GrowingUpstairs. Really easy. Make sure you guys follow us over there on Instagram. And you guys just keep growing upstairs. We'll check in with you guys next week.